In this session, we're going to go over and look at Chapter 1 and 2 and just do a quick overview of material that's in those chapters. This is not intended to replace the material of the reading. It's just intended to go through and try to maybe tie all of these things together. There are a lot of different concepts that are introduced, and certainly if you're new to statistics, then some of this may seem a little bit overwhelming. But we need to understand the overall emphasis of what we're trying to do with statistics. Statistics is a tool that can be used for problem solving. It involves a lot of logic and a lot of it just basically tries to quantify something that is difficult to quantify. You go through and the overall process in statistics is similar to some of the things that we do otherwise in life. We go through and we start off with some assumptions. And then from those assumptions, we obtain some information. We get some data, we get some opinions, however we get that information, and then we take that information and we put it back into and try to do something to quantify or to test those assumptions. And then when we do that, then that allows us to go through and make some conclusions and to modify those original assumptions again. And it becomes a cyclical process of continual improvement, continual knowledge. Now, the problem is that all of these decisions are being made using data that would be called incomplete. We don't know everything. We don't have everything at our disposal. We have to go through and make some assumptions based on some of the data that we do not know about. And so it leaves us out there in this sort of nebulous area sometimes, and that can be a very disconcerting place for some people. Because you want to know, you want to get all your ducks lined up in a row, so to speak, and sometimes you just don't know, and there's not just a whole lot that you can do sometimes to make it work. So, as we go through and talk about data, there are some different levels of measurement. And those levels of measurement can start off with what we call qualitative. Now pay attention, that L right there, remember that, that's going to tell us that this is going to be something that is labeled. Okay, there's two types of variables under here, nominal and ordinal. Nominal is just simply named, and ordinal can be ordered. Better, worse, even worse. Easy, difficult, very difficult. Those are an order. Nominal is something to be named, like red eyes, or red hair, blue hair, green hair, whatever hair color you might want to have. And then the next type of data is going to be one that's quantitative. Okay, that N can stand for numbered. These two are going to have numbers in them, and they're going to be interval and ratio. And the only difference between those is that ratio has a true zero, a zero that actually means zero, and interval doesn't have a true zero. I guess the best example of that is a temperature scale, where The 0 degree on the Fahrenheit means nothing. Water freezes at 32 degrees. The 0 on the Fahrenheit scale, I mean, it has no meaning at all. There's nothing associated with that. 0 on the Kelvin temperature scale does, because that's where there is no heat, absolutely no heat. And if you're into science, you'll know that. And then another type of the data that another classification, especially for the quantitative data, is one that is discrete or continuous. Discrete means that it's a counting number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continuous means it can be a number between 1 and 2, for example. A continuous number could have a value of 1.357 or something like that. Okay, so those are the types of data. Where does the data come from? Well, it can come from surveys. It can come from designed experiments. Data can come from other studies. We have to have surveys because we can't sample the entire population. So we have to get a smaller group. One of the important things about that is that if we go out and just pick a group and we say that's going to be my sample, we may pick a group that's biased. And so we have to incorporate the idea of randomization. We randomly collect data. We go out and randomize. There are some non-random samples out there. A lot of times they'll be use other words like convenience sample or a volunteer sample. And as you go through and look at the literature, you'll see that there are lots of types of bad data. And so you want to watch out for that. And at the end of the first chapter, we go through and do some discussion about those. And I think that's a fairly easy information to understand, so I encourage you to look at that.